A very good evening to you. This is eNCA Moneyline, your money guide. My name is Duduzile Ramela. Coming up on the show tonight, the rand plummets to its lowest level against the US dollar since 2008. Another low-cost airline takes to the skies, but for how long?
And we hear from the South African Chamber of Mines at the mining Indaba in Cape Town. But first, Dudu has your top stories.
Rand today plunged to its lowest level against the dollar since October 2008. The more than 1% fall came as investors pulled out of the risky currency. The local unit fell to 11 Rand 83 cents against the greenback. The ongoing power outages and weakening confidence in the government's ability to spur growth are largely to blame for the tumble. The drop comes as Eskom declared even more load shedding today. Markets are also nervous about President Jacob Zuma's State of the Nation address tomorrow. Investors hope he will outline plans to tackle the country's electricity crisis. Well, for more analysis on the story, we're now joined in our Durban studio by economic analyst Laven Gopal. Laven, thank you so much for your time this evening. Something went horribly wrong here. So what do we put this down to?
So what we've noticed is the movements on the currency with the rand touching multi-level lows. Remember in March 2002, you saw the rand playing with levels of 11 Rand and 83 to the US dollar. This current set of movements comes about because of two important factors. Firstly, the discussions that the Greek government, this is a newly installed Greek government, has with the European Union, and they may not be keeping up to some of the bargains of their predecessors. This has created a disturbance within the European Union, and it may seem like Greece could be one of the fallen stars from the Union. If Greece is ousted from the European Union, it could create some financial chaos within the marketplace, and as a consequence, you've seen gyrations within the currency markets, in particular emerging markets. Some of the emerging markets that have recently reported problems included the Nigerian naira, the Venezuelan currency, and of course the South African rand. We have a second problem, and this is because of Eskom. You've seen the perception from some of the international investors as well as local players lose faith with the South African bond market and currency market. And so the rand has been under pressure because of that factor as well.
Laven, let's bring it closer to home. Who are the winners and losers in this situation?
Well, if the currency were to become extremely weak as it has, those players in the export market seem to score the most. Currently, you find a number of the commodity and resource players, a number of the manufacturers and net exporters. Of course, some of the other side of the equation is for those of us that import product. And if you look at some of the players that are manufacturing, who export these goods and benefit, of course, some of their inputs are goods that are imported. So if you are importing goods, you're going to be paying more. If you're exporting, of course, you enjoy the rewards of a weaker currency.
And that's where we'll leave it. That was economic analyst Laven Gopal. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Now, South African skies are home to yet another low-budget airline. Skywise took its inaugural flight on its launch route from Johannesburg to Cape Town this morning. But the budget airline will hope to avoid the same route that so many before it has taken.
Skywise will soon join its competitors on this check-in board. The new budget airline hopes to attract local travelers with a keen eye for a bargain. But many have flown this route before. Low-cost airlines have a habit of disappearing in South Africa. Back in 2008, Lanseria-based Nationwide Airlines went down under high fuel costs and a dwindling passenger list. It was Velvet Sky's turn in 2012 after just a year in the sky. The airline had problems with its fleet and was forced to shut down, facing liquidation. And then later that year, probably the biggest grounding of them all, popular low-cost carrier One Time filed for liquidation. It had struggled to compete with SAA and Mango. But a Skywise executive says it's ready to fly through any sort of industry turbulence.
I can't really go into the strategy of the company, but the truth of the matter is in any industry there's ups and downs. And we have obviously considered the possibility of the difficult times that we may find in the industry. We're well aware of things that we're not supposed to be doing, and as much as we're aware of things that we ought to be doing. And I think with the kind of team of the expertise that we have, the experience is there, the kind of aircraft we intend using, we're possibly one of the best players, low-cost airline currently.
The budget carrier, founded by one-time executives Rodney James, Glenn Osmond and Michael Kaminsky, has the backing of Dubai Pakistani aviation firm Pak Africa Aviation. The carrier has ambitions to eventually fly to Durban and PE, with 50 flights a week carrying 25,000 passengers a month.
We'll be bringing comfort, better pricing and value for money.
Fuel prices, maintenance costs and profit-turning bums on seats will be key for Skywise to stay in the air for the long haul once it takes off in March. In the meantime, competitors like Mango, Kulula and Fly SA Fair will have to see whether the new kid on the block will actually offer more for less. Muteo Khoripe, or Tumble International.
Now, with Valentine's Day approaching, some UK campaign groups are urging consumers to think about where their flowers come from and the pressures on the workers and resources in that region. Flower plantations operating around Kenya's Lake Naivasha export large amounts to the UK, and much has been done to help improve working conditions at these farms.
70% of all roses sold in the UK come from Kenya. Across Europe, the biggest increase in demand for cut flowers takes place during February and March, largely due to Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. But pressures on the land where these flowers are grown is a concern for peace-building charity International Alert.
There are tensions between the flower farmers and the Maasai pastoralists who live in the area and need the water and the land for their cows. There are also tensions within the communities. These farms have attracted a lot of people from all over Kenya, and people come with high expectations trying to look for jobs into these farms. But they live in very poor conditions, very little security. There are huge social tensions within these communities, and there's a lot of violence as well.
Millions of Kenyans make a living from the land and water. An increased strain in these areas has led to shortages and growing tensions. This exhibition in the UK raises awareness of the many issues facing flower farmers in Kenya. During the months of February and March, flower exports increase at a rate of 10 to 15%, putting pressure on those who rely on the land to survive. In terms of working conditions, though, to some extent gains have been made. Fair trade farmers must adhere to certain standards, especially during times of high demand. However, there's still more to be done.
Over time, we would like to close the gap between actual wages paid today and what we think are living wages. And there's some work to do there, and that's going to be hard. It's going to take some time. It's not just about the employer and the worker. I think that whole value chain has to work together to do that. And that includes consumers in the UK recognising the value and the effort put into growing these beautiful flowers.
While efforts are being made to raise awareness in the UK about where flowers come from, campaigners believe sustainable and fair management of water is needed in Kenya to avoid water and land competition causing tensions that may become irreversible. Natalie Powell, London.
Here's what's coming up after the break.
We're live at the Investing in African Mining Indaba in Cape Town. You're watching eNCA Moneyline, your money guide. Stay with us.